But the idea is all the laws of nature were completely fixed at the moment of the Big Bang, like a cosmic Napoleonic code. As my friend Terence McKenna used to say, modern science is based on the principle, give us one free miracle and we'll explain the rest. And the one free miracle is the appearance of all the matter and energy in the universe and all the laws that govern it from nothing in a single instant.
We know with any confidence nothing about dark matter. The most likely thing is it's some form of elementary particle that hasn't been discovered yet. A good chance that they're heavy enough to have escaped detection in the LHC, but light enough to be able to be detected in future experiments. But that's it. That's about all we can say at the moment.
Superstring theory is an attempt to realize a dream that Albert Einstein had for the last 30 years of his life, but unfortunately he was never able to realize. It was a dream of formulating a unified theory of physics, a theory that would describe everything in the universe, from the smallest speck of matter to the farthest reach of the most distant galaxy, using one idea, one master principle.
Scientists today believe the universe and all matter and energy contained within it began with a Big Bang. According to their measurements of the radiation signatures at the very source of the Big Bang and the furthest most distances from it, scientists now believe the universe is stretching beyond the constraints of the gravity produced by the Big Bang and is causing what they call cosmic expansion. However, through observation and measurement, astrophysicists have learned that galaxies themselves do not contain enough matter to produce the gravity needed to stay together. In fact, by their very calculations, galaxies should rip apart and be thrust into oblivion along with the rest of the expanding universe. Instead, galaxies appear to be maintaining their shape even as they drift further and further apart from each other. This galactic drift is also problematic for present theories, because the energy required to account for the actual measurements is also missing from the mathematical equations underlying the scientific models today. Cosmic expansion, compared to the stability of galaxies, has created new problems in astrophysics. These problems can be corrected by manual adjustments to the popularly accepted mathematical equations describing the universe as science understands it today. They call these adjustments dark matter and dark energy, which by scientists' own calculations appear to comprise 96% of the known universe. Because the total mass of the matter in galaxies is not sufficient to keep them together, and because the universe should be expanding based on present theories, these dark entities, literally mathematical contrivances, were created by fiat. Frankly, this appears to be a way of maintaining the dogma of accepted scientific status quo, that a Big Bang happened to begin with, and that the universe is tearing itself apart, despite the mysterious and overwhelming 96% of evidence to the contrary, dark matter and dark energy. These numeric vacancies in the current mathematical formulas have given rise to what seems to be a highly subjective prediction of the existence of forces in material that vastly outweigh what science presently understands to exist under current models. Try as they might, scientists simply have not been able to reconcile the gaps using existing theories and mathematics without adding or subtracting these manually inserted values into their equations to explain the disagreements found in their measurements. Scientifically speaking, a theory which can only account for just 4% of observable and measurable phenomenon would be considered untenable and scientifically insignificant. The Large Hadron Collider at CERN, LHC, was recently brought back online with increased power in hopes of addressing the problem of dark matter and dark energy. scientists believe that smashing existing matter together and measuring that reaction's output will help explain the phenomenon of these mathematical anomalies, and by doing so, further our understanding of how the universe began. According to existing theories, all matter and energy would have already existed in a tiny, super-dense singularity that somehow destabilized and exploded into the Big Bang. Because these experiments may never explain where the needed energy or needed matter came from to begin with, it seems to be a suspicious notion that smashing already existing matter together using already existing energy will help solve this scientific conundrum. Perhaps new theories are necessary, a new paradigm shift in our approaches to scientific understanding and advancement. Perhaps measuring cause and effect, quantities, distance, speeds, and forces within the limited framework of our observational senses is not a sufficient method when used by itself to understand the nature of the universe we exist in. Ancient philosophy and wisdom laid the foundation for today's scientific advancements. If it were not for Plato, we would not have geometry. But even his discoveries of the so-called Platonic solids predate Plato himself by thousands of years. If it were not for Socrates and Aristotle, we would not have epistemology, modern logic, or science itself. While it took thousands of years, these great thinkers, to name only a few, ultimately gave rise to Western civilization and science itself. While in the West, great thinkers and philosophers were taking measurements of the external world using observation and our five senses, the thinkers and philosophers in the East were studying the internal world, consciousness itself. Today, material scientists and those ancient explorers of consciousness are finding an undeniable intersection. The Vedas, a tome of mystical ancient Indian texts, which many scholars believe predate history itself, are among the first writings outlining an advanced understanding of reality that, when considered with a modern perspective, one cannot help but correlate to current theories of the wave properties of matter found in quantum physics, or the theoretical vibrations inside atoms proposed by string theory. The very words we use to describe the world around us, in both direct scientific forms as well as abstract and perhaps even metaphysical ways, when traced through their etymology, contain a resonance that may pertain directly to the origins of the universe itself. Are these artifacts in our modern languages coincidental? The subject of intellectual investigations of old and the scientific inquiry of modern times is matter, the stuff that makes up the material world. The word matter can be traced etymologically through history to its first known origins. According to etymology, the word matter originates in the 13th century Latin as mater, which later became the English word for mother. Interestingly, the syllable ma or me in Sanskrit, which is the language Vedic texts were written in, literally means create. One cannot help but wonder if the syllable ter, following me or ma, relates to the Latin word for earth, terra. The Vedic texts describe the material universe around us as an illusion that invokes the sensory and physical nature of man. They call it the Maya. Again, in the Sanskrit word, we find the ma or me syllable, which means create, alongside another syllable, ya, which can also be traced through Sanskrit and many other languages to a notion of creation or a creator. For instance, in Hebrew, Yah literally means God. These semantic, perhaps phonetic, observations may not be considered scientifically relevant by themselves, but the descriptions in the Vedas of the vibrations created through the utterance of a single syllable, Om, as a direct underlying constitution of the universe, are hard to ignore in light of modern advancements of the material sciences, particularly those of quantum physics and string theory.